You're not broken. You're just tired of carrying a life that was never built for you. You've been trying to hold yourself together for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to simply breathe without guilt pressing against your chest. And the truth you've avoided, the truth you've felt quietly in the back of your mind for years, is whispering louder now. You don't hate life. You hate this version of it. The version that trained you to shrink yourself. The version that made you apologize for existing. The version that convinced you that love must be earned through pain, silence, obedience, or endurance. Deep down, you've always known this isn't who you were meant to be. But when you spend years surviving instead of living, it's easy to mistake exhaustion for failure, emptiness for weakness, pain for identity. You've been told to move on, to stay strong, to get over it. As if your heart is a switch you can flip off. As if human emotions work like that. As if you haven't spent nights trying to understand why you feel so lost in the first place. You've hidden entire storms behind a quiet face because somewhere along the way, the world taught you that your hurt was too heavy for others, so you carried it alone. You taught yourself to smile through the ache, to speak gently even when you were breaking, to swallow truths that were too painful to admit. And now, here you are still breathing, still trying, still hoping for a version of life that doesn't hurt to wake up in. What you hate isn't life. What you hate is the psychological conditioning that shaped your past, the expectations that never belonged to you, the manipulation disguised as concern, the emotional abuse wrapped in the language of love, the toxic relationships that made you feel responsible for everyone's happiness except your own, the blame you accepted that was never yours to carry, the human behavior you didn't understand then but can finally see clearly now. Dark psychology explains something you've felt but never had words for. People don't always control you with force. They control you with guilt, with silence, with shame, with the fear of being abandoned, with the hope that maybe, if you try harder, you'll finally earn the love you were already giving away. Some people create a version of reality where you question your own thoughts. They twist your empathy into weakness, your loyalty into chains, your trust into leverage. And slowly, without noticing, you become conditioned to believe that your needs are optional, your boundaries are selfish, your voice is inconvenient. That is emotional control. That is manipulation revealed in its quietest form. It's why so many stay in toxic relationships even when their heart begs them to leave. It's the invisible mind games that make victims turn against themselves. You stayed silent because you were trained to. You kept forgiving because you were afraid of the consequences of not forgiving. You accepted the pain because you didn't want to be seen as dramatic or ungrateful. You convinced yourself it wasn't that bad even when your body felt like it was collapsing under the weight of it. That is trauma bonding. It's the cycle of being hurt and then soothed by the same person who caused the pain. It's the emotional high that follows the emotional low, creating a loop you can't see clearly until you step outside of it. It's why you thought leaving would break you, even though staying already was. And somewhere deep in you, you knew the red flags weren't random. You knew the way you felt around them wasn't love. It was survival. You knew that the quiet fear you carried wasn't normal. You knew the pauses in conversations weren't peace. They were the uncertainty of what version of them would show up next. That's the psychology of unpredictability, one of the most powerful tools of manipulation. When someone makes you question your own reality, your own memory, your own intuition, they don't need to trap you. You trap yourself. Gaslighting turns your doubts into evidence against you. Emotional withdrawal makes you chase validation. Silent treatment makes you feel responsible for fixing everything, even the things you didn't break. You weren't weak. You were conditioned. And now you're standing at the edge of the truth, finally able to see the patterns that shape the version of life you've grown to hate, the version that made you ignore your own needs, the version that broke your self-worth without you noticing, the version that repeatedly asked you to stay small so others could feel comfortable. You've spent years running from yourself, not knowing that the person you've been trying to escape was the person who never got to fully exist in the first place. But here's the shift you weren't expecting. You have permission to outgrow the version of life that's destroying you. You're allowed to redefine yourself. You're allowed to let people go. You're allowed to stop being the emotional anchor for people who never held you. You're allowed to set boundaries without apologizing. You're allowed to say no without guilt. You're allowed to rebuild your self-worth in a way that feels honest and steady. The moment you understand dark psychology, manipulation loses its power. The moment you understand emotional abuse, you stop personalizing the pain. The moment you understand human behavior, you stop blaming yourself for what you couldn't control. You are not the problem. You are the pattern breaker, the cycle ender, the one who finally recognizes that survival is not the same as living. The life you hate is not the only life available to you. There's another version of you waiting beneath everything you believed you had to be. A version that is stronger not because of what you survived, but because you're finally choosing yourself. A version that doesn't beg for love because it knows its own value. A version that doesn't chase people because it chases peace. A version that doesn't stay silent because it understands that speaking truth is a form of freedom. A version of you that sees red flags clearly, understands manipulation instantly, and walks away from emotional control without hesitation. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to become the version of yourself you lost. The one who trusts their own voice. The one who knows their worth. The one who doesn't settle for a life that hurts to inhabit. The one who understands that healing isn't forgetting, it's reclaiming. It's remembering who you were before the world taught you otherwise. It's choosing a life that doesn't drain you. It's choosing people who don't confuse love with control. It's choosing yourself without feeling guilty for it. And when the world tries to make you feel selfish, remember this: protecting your peace is not selfish. Rebuilding your boundaries is not selfish. Saying no is not selfish. Walking away from toxic relationships is not selfish. Wanting more is not selfish. It is survival finally transforming into self-respect. Your life is not over. It's just beginning in a different direction. A direction where manipulation can't reach you. Where emotional abuse can't shape you. Where trauma bonding can't confuse you. Where your self-worth isn't negotiable. Where you no longer shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Where you finally breathe without guilt, without fear, without apology. You don't hate life. You hated the version that wasn't yours. And now, you're ready to build the one that is. And when that moment arrives, when you finally feel the weight lift, you'll understand the quiet truth you've been running toward all along. You were never hard to love. You were simply trying to love yourself in the wrong place. And now, you're finally home within yourself.